for all the iconic people in the world that are in the industry, Stallone and Schwarzenegger and The Rock, they're pretty much known for specific things. And like when you think of one, you think of certain things. Whereas Schwarzenegger, you think of like bodybuilding and Terminator. You think of Stallone, it's Rambo and Rocky.
Hold that thought right there. This is Pete Koch breaking it down with Aaron Williamson, actor, trainer to the stars, works on all the big films, developing his own burgeoning career, former Marine. Hang in there. It's Pete Koch breaking it down. Don't go away. Hey guys, Pete Koch breaking it down with Aaron Williamson. He's a really interesting guy. We've just recently got to know each other through a mutual friend, and he's got quite an interesting story to share with our audience. He is a former Marine. Once a Marine, always a Marine, right?
Always a Marine.
Yeah, don't let me get away with that mistake. And now he's a trainer at the highest order, but he's also an actor, and he's very serious about his craft as an actor. And the folks that watch my show, my Breaking It Down show, know that I'm extremely interested in finding out what makes actors tick, how to optimize their performance. And Aaron, thanks for joining me.
Oh, thanks to be here.
Tell me from the beginning, because I don't know that much about you. Just getting to know you, brother. Where are you from?
I'm from Daytona Beach, Florida.
Okay, and at some point, I guess right, were you an athlete in high school?
A little bit. I was kind of that kid in high school who, teetered on good and bad quite a bit.
Okay.
Yes.
After high school?
Yeah, I actually, a couple weeks after I graduated high school, I was on the Yellow Footprints, Marine Corps Recruit Depot, Paris Island.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So listen. Thank you for your service, and that's a major decision for a young man. How'd that work out for you?
It was the structure and the discipline I needed, and I feel like if I didn't join the Corps, I would probably. I probably wouldn't be here right now. I'm sure I'd be 6 feet under somewhere. But just the structure and discipline that it instilled in me, and it brought out these qualities and leadership, and I'd be lost without it. It helped develop my life to where it is right now, and the type of person I am right now.
That's a really powerful message. I've heard that from many people, and I think it's an important. We're at a point in history. This country is, unfortunately, it seems like we're always in some sort of engaged in some sort of aggressive combat, someplace in the world. So we need the folks to. We've got an all-volunteer troops, so we need folks like you. So appreciate your service there. So how many years in the Marine Corps? How did that? And tell us a little bit about your experience there. I know you were in active combat.
I did. My Marine Corps career was a little bit different than most others. I ended up being a rifleman, 0311 infantry. Deployed to a couple different places. Deployed to Okinawa, Japan, which is where I fell in love with fitness. And ended up getting screened for this detail called the Marine Corps Body Bearers. It's a very small unit in Washington D.C. who conducts funerals for fallen Marines and veterans. Which led me into another special duty to be security for, at the time, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Peter Pace, the Vice Chairman, excuse me. And, top secret clearance, and being at the Pentagon, the White House, being this crazy little, assed up kid is, with no direction. And now here I'm interacting with the President and the Secretary of Defense. And so it was a very, very crazy experience, which I got out and did contract work after that overseas in Iraq.
So was at some point when you're working in the Pentagon, this has got to be just a heady experience, right?
It's you pinch yourself sometimes and wonder if it's real, because you're literally in the middle of everything. And politically, it opened my eyes up to a lot of just different situations and things you see on TV. You're able to put it into perspective a lot better because you're in the thick of it. You're on Capitol Hill, you're in the Senate hearings, and it's pretty wild.
It's impressive. So you must have been doing something right, very much right, within Marine Corps, but you decided you weren't going to, re-up, so you became, what was the next step for you after the Marine Corps?
When I was leaving the Marine Corps, I had this opportunity to be a part of this this technological biometrics fielding team, which is what we used overseas in Iraq for base access, and then just a bunch of other things that, is a side of the war that not many people know about. Fingerprints, iris scans, just biographical data. If, let's just say there's a bomb that went off, you could lift a latent fingerprint off of it and then try and, match it to known latent fingerprints and possibly catch bad guys.
Wow, so this is the contract work?
Mm-hmm.
And so how long were you in that world?
I did 4 years straight overseas in Iraq of this contract work. First 2 years were one program, the second 2 years were another program.
Okay, so now you're 8 years out of high school, a lot of military, a lot of training, physical stuff, intelligence gathering, but you've also indicated to me earlier that it was during this time that you fell in love and found your passion for physical fitness and bodybuilding. Yeah,
when I was in Okinawa, Japan, you either partied or you lifted weights or you PT'd, and I fell in love with the weight room, and it just kind of started to shape my mentality of fitness and where I wanted to bring it. So it was at that point where I said I want to be a competitive bodybuilder, and that was my goal that I was trying to work up to.
Okay, so at this point you decide that you're finished with the contract work. I imagine that there's got to be a limit to how much time you can spend in these very, very difficult and dangerous countries.
Well, when you're in a combat environment like that, in whatever capacity, it kind of alters your sense of reality a little bit. And spending 4 years over there, you're inevitably going to see things and experience things that you're not going to want to remember, but are going to stick in your mind for the rest of your life. And so it plays on your psyche a lot. And it's like, here I am overseas flying in a helicopter, riding around in a Humvee or an Amtrak, and you're getting shot at. And the next thing you know, you're on a plane back to the States. We're going to go eat Subway and drive around and go see a movie. So it's like it kind of plays with you a little bit. It's the reality of it.
All right. So from that point, you shut it down with all this very dangerous work that's going on in your life, and you're very serious about bodybuilding at this time, right? And bodybuilders, they make it's really an enormous and understated intellectual sport, right? Because, and this is just my opinion, that bodybuilders are, all athletes by nature are really in tune with their bodies, but bodybuilders have to develop just an additional sense of their movement and creating what they're doing, shaping their own bodies. So they make very, very good trainers by and large, and also the figure and physique women on the other side of the equation. That's my opinion. And so at this time, you go ahead and where do you pick up? Where do you move to?
I took a leap of faith to come to New Orleans for a contract job that didn't necessarily work out. Kind of expediting through this process a little bit, I was living out of my car prepping for my first bodybuilding show. But the thing with fitness and bodybuilding with me is I've never been really close with my family, so and occasionally I fall off the grid for months at a time. And when I didn't have anybody and I didn't have anything, I've always had fitness. I've always had the gym, and it's that one thing where it's that sanity piece. It's my sanctuary. I can go in there and just turn everything off, no matter how bad things are. I can put my headphones on and just tune the world out and shape and just get that's my fix.
But you were living in your car.
Living in my car.
So just today I ran into at Gold's Gym, our gym there in Venice, California, the Mecca, an old friend of mine, Paul Sullivan. Yeah. Don't know if you know him, but you know of him. And this old Paul, he's a former fighter, bodybuilder, powerlifter, actor who was featured in the movie Bigger, Stronger, Faster. Okay. Produced and directed by my buddy Chris Bell, and it's an amazing documentary, Bigger, Stronger, Faster. And Sully was living in his car and has lived in his car intermittently for I assume most of his adult life. And if you see this film, which is about 8-9 years old now, his physique was absolutely astounding. And I used to go to the gym and see him in the gym, and then see him later in his car. If I was working out at night, he was in his car, and I was like, "Hey, Paul, what's going on?" And I don't know, how do you do that? What's going on there?
You just really have to be confident in what you're doing, what you're trying to achieve, because it can be so it can be very easy to get discouraged and just say, you know what, I'm living out of my car. Why am I trying to even do this? But
this is part of your sacrifice.
It's part of the sacrifice, but also without it, I just don't have any sanity. And you probably know, just being a bodybuilder and having this just really intense love for the gym life, it keeps you, no matter how bad things are, it keeps you grounded. And if you're kind of flailing around, it's a specific solid goal that you're trying to achieve. It's like you're here and you can see, you have these these milestones that you're trying to achieve to get to this ultimate goal. And that's what kept me grounded, because without it, you could just start drinking, you could start doing drugs, you could say, screw it, I'm going to go work at Subway, or just whatever could throw you off is always there.
It's a story I've heard before. I find it fascinating. I think everybody, athletes that are at the highest order, if it's bodybuilding, football, weightlifting, or basketball, on and on, these athletes need to find, and I know I needed to find some of these kind of hooks to grab onto to keep myself anchored just where I wanted to be, to optimize my personal potential as I was on a path to excellence. And I hear it coming straight from you, Aaron. But it was at this time, tell me, in New Orleans, that you're on your path to greatness as a bodybuilder, but you also needed, I guess, a job, and you're training folks.
Right.
And where'd that lead to?
There came a point in time where I just had to make a decision, because bodybuilding doesn't exactly bring in a lot of money, and that was the part that I needed to figure out, because I have a family back in Florida, and I don't know, I've got financial responsibilities. So at that point, I'm living out of my car after the career that I had in the Marine Corps. How does this, where do I go with it? So I started training at a smaller gym uptown New Orleans. It was a 24-hour gym, which there aren't many of those in New Orleans, like the type that I was training at. Started training there, and just by chance I met Zack Efron doing a movie called The Lucky One.
Huh.
And it was my introduction into film. At that point, I didn't even know the film industry was in New Orleans, so it was a big surprise to me. Anyway, he plays a Marine Iraq veteran. We hit it off. I helped him portray a Marine in that movie, and then that was kind of.
So he hired you.
Yeah. The producers brought me on. Everyone wanted. Yeah. So it was my first experience into film, and little did I know where it would go next.
Yeah. This was the beginning of something that got pretty big.
Yeah.
All right. We got to shut it down here. We're out of time. I want to thank Aaron Williamson for his time with me. Fascinating interview. This is part one. I'm going to shut it down here. It's going to be part two. Hang in there for that. Aaron, thanks again for your time.
Thank you, Pete.
Thank you. Pete Koch, Breaking It Down. See you next time.